We are going to start with first and foremost what is globalization, which is actually the name of the topic. So by now what we have studied, you should already be able to define yourself what is the meaning of the term globalization. So before I start with the slide, anyone wants to try what is the definition with all the information that we have done so far? Okay, where the different countries of the world are integrating. So basically the markets are integrated, and remember in the very first period I also told that it's not just the markets, but there are certain other aspects to it also, because globalization as a term has a very vast meaning. Okay, so we'll see now what are those other aspects other than the markets. Okay, so let's see that. The very first thing, all that we have read about so far in the chapter is known as globalization. So you are aware that we read about investment, we read about foreign investment, we read about trade, foreign trade, we read about how the MNCs establish themselves, etc. All this is part of globalization. Okay, we have already seen the role that the MNCs and foreign trade play in order to facilitate the movement of goods, products or services between countries. So now we are talking of not just the word trade or markets, it is the overall movement of goods or services. Along with that, even some more things that has brought the world together, and that is people. Yes, people migrate to other countries for better educational or work opportunities. Technology, and the third factor is technology. So first we are talking of is markets, second is the people, and third is technology. So technology has helped to speed up the spread of globalization in terms of transport and information and communication. So how does this technology benefit us in trade that we are talking of? What has brought the world closer? Obviously our laptops and our computers, right? Are they in any way helping in globalization? Sitting at one place, we can actually find out what's happening around us in the world. Correct? How does this technology benefit us in trade that we are talking of? So basically at one single place also, we can actually do lot of stuff, like we can advertise, we can trade, we can do our marketing, mouth publicity, talking with people from one end of the world to some other country. You understanding? So this technology has proved to be one of the most important factor in globalization. So which are those? When you define globalization, you have to keep in mind it is integration not just of markets, but it is also the easy movement of goods and services, and of course the people. And who aids all this? Because of what it is all possible? It is all possible because of technology. Yes? Countries often export their goods outside domestic markets, and in the competitive scenario can actually sell products at cheaper price. Yesterday we had seen this with the help of that example from textbook. Correct? Yes. They transfer the goods from their local markets to the global markets, and then they have to sell it in the global markets at a very competitive price. So they have to see to it that they are in tough competition with all other brands and products of the same category that are available in the market. What if these products had an import tax upon them as they enter the foreign markets? This point we will discuss when we are doing. I will show you one page from the textbook which has this example of Chinese toys. Okay, so we'll discuss this point when we read that paragraph. From the textbook we'll read that paragraph, so you'll automatically understand what I'm trying. Right now you keep in mind the word import tax. Okay, the products that we perceive as cheaper would suddenly cost more. This is known as a trade barrier. Okay, I'll just tell you in simple words. It means that if there are a lot of products in the market, you know that globalization has benefited us consumers in a way that we have a lot of options and variety in the market to be. We can choose our things. Lot of varieties there, right? So most of the time nowadays people are giving more importance to Chinese goods, China has entered Indian markets because they have lot of goods to offer, variety of goods to offer, and that too at a cheaper price. And Indians also, or other people from other countries, are also buying it because they feel it is cheaper. But if the government of India or if the government of some other country puts an import tax, will the price be that low now of the product? Will the price of that product remain low? No, it will increase because the company has now to pay taxes. So they have additional output. I mean, they have to spend more money. So from where are they going to take that money? They are going to take it from us customers, right? So they are going to increase the price of the product in the market. So when such thing happens, it is called as a trade barrier. That means the government of our country is not allowing the traders of some other country or the business of some other country to flourish in our country. Okay, now this trade barrier has both positive and negative impacts. Alright? This is usually the government's way to regulate the amount of foreign trade that occurs within a country. How will the government regulate? What is the meaning of the word regulate? Regulate means what? It is to see to it that it is to actually uniform something, to divide something properly. Regulate means you are not even allowing the foreign traders to have monopoly on Indian markets, because you have to take care of your local traders also. Local business also has to flourish. At the same time, the people in the country should also have the option of choosing from lot of varieties. So foreign trade also is important, and protecting the interest of local business is also important for the government. Are you understanding? So first and foremost, regulation in the market is required, because what will happen if the entire market is full of Chinese goods? The money is going to which country? China, right? The Chinese traders and the Chinese businessmen are actually having the advantage of it. But what about the Indian business? If every one of us is going to go and buy Chinese products, then the Indian products, who is going to buy? Nobody will buy. We will feel it is costly and we are not going to buy it. So obviously it is in loss for Indian people. So the government's work is to regulate that there should not be monopoly of foreign traders also in the market, and at the same time the local market or the local business should also flourish. People should have a wide choice. For that reason, foreign trade is required. So what I was trying to say is that foreign trade has to be regulated, because if you give that much freedom, then only the foreigners will benefit and the local business will suffer. So it is government's duty to regulate that foreign trade. Alright? However, this also meant that the domestic market will become complacent, and a little competitiveness kept the quality of products or services constantly better. Complacent means self-satisfied. What happens is that when government has some control over foreign trade, then the local merchants, the local business people, they have some sort of soothing effect on them, that okay, good, our government is also keeping in mind our own betterment, and hence they are ready for that competitiveness, and the quality of the products that they produce in the market will also be better, or similar to that kind of foreign, because they have now to face foreign competitiveness in their own country. So they are happy that the government is taking their side also, and hence they have to make sure that they are also giving their best in the market. Is this clear? So trade barriers on foreign trade were removed to a great extent. This is known as liberalization. But today, many countries are keeping the policy of liberalization. Means they are allowing the foreign trade to continue in a more rapid manner. Okay? So let's open the textbook now and we'll read those page numbers so that you will realize what I was talking of. See, we'll read this paragraph here so that you will understand what I was talking of, and then in relation to that, I will again talk about that regulation in policy. Okay, so who will read?
Chinese toys become more popular in the Indian markets. Within a year, 70 to 80% of the toy shops have replaced Indian toys with Chinese toys. Toys are now cheaper in the Indian markets than earlier. What is happening here? As a result of trade, Chinese toys come into the Indian market. In the competition between Indian and Chinese toys prove better. Indian buyers have a greater choice of toys and at lower prices. For the makers, this provides an opportunity to expand business. The opportunity is true for Indian toy makers. The opposite is true for Indian toy makers. They face losses as their toys are selling much less.
So now you understood why regulation of policy is required. Regulation is required. See, because when China started exporting their toys to India, Indians started buying it because of what? Because the prices were cheaper. Okay, but then what happens because of this, because of the reduction in prices, when people started buying only Chinese products, what happened was many shops in the markets were replaced by Chinese goods, and as a result the Indian people, the Indian traders faced lot of losses. So in order to avoid this, the government cannot afford our own business to be at loss. Okay, and hence the policies or the government policies play a very very important role. Okay, so let's start from here, reading from here, because these are page numbers today. What is globalization?
What is globalization? In the past 2 to 3 decades, more and more MNCs have been looking for locations around the world which would be cheap for their production. Foreign investment by MNCs in these countries has been rising. At the same time, foreign trade between countries has been rising rapidly. A large part of the foreign trade is also controlled by MNCs. For instance, the car manufacturing plant of Ford Motors in India not only produces cars for the Indian markets, it also exports cars to other developing countries and export car components of for its many factories around the world. Likewise, activities of most MNCs involve substanti- substantial
Substantial
trade in
trade.
good substantial trade in goods and also services.
So what have you understood? What is globalization? The first important contributing factor to globalization is quick revision. It is an MNC. Okay. Then what do? They set up manufacturing plant in that country. Okay. What Ford had done, we had seen that example. It worked in collaboration with which company? Do you remember? It worked in collaboration with which company? Ford. We had read that page, right?
Ma'am, Mahindra.
Mahindra, right. So what happens, and not just cars. So Ford also started exporting, not just, I mean, that selling of those cars were not just done in India, but also it was exported to other countries. So it involves a substantial movement of goods from one place to another. So, in this way, globalization is the process of rapid integration or interconnection between countries. So, if the definition is asked, you have to write this properly. Globalization is the rapid process of integration or interconnection between countries. Okay, so as more and more goods and services, investments, and technologies are moving between countries, regions of the world are coming in close contact with each other. So, this all we had seen right just now in the PPT. Okay, now technology. So I had asked you what are the examples where technology is proven to be beneficial. Yes, the very first point was about transport. So yes, you can see here there is an example, faster delivery of goods across long distances. Okay, because of improvement in all these categories, because a lot of roadways are built, infrastructure is becoming up to date, new types of ships are being made by which exporting, or rather the containers can carry many things at the same time. So all this development has led to improvement in the process of globalization. And then what we were talking of here is the telecommunication facilities. When I asked you about the other things, where with the help of telephone, mobile, etc., we are able to. What I was talking of is tele advertisements and business, that is
Radio.
telemarketing, like what you do on your online platform, right? Online platform, your buying and selling of goods on online platform is an example of technology into it, right? Is it clear? So information and
Yes.
technology has played a major role in spreading out of production of services across country. So this is one example that's given here. You can read it for yourself later. We will now read about liberalization. I hope the earlier part is understood by you. What happens when some other countries' goods are into Indian markets, and then that's why I read that, Sanchita, you were telling me that, ma'am, we had read that yesterday, but purposely I made you read it again today because now I want to link it to liberalization policy. Okay, so now can you read this liberalization? Start reading.
Liberalization of foreign states and foreign
Foreign,
investment
foreign, foreign.
policy. Foreign.
Hmm.
Let us return to the example of imports of China's toys in India. Support the Indian government put, puts a tax on the import of toys. What will happen?
Yes, what will happen? Who can tell me what will happen? Earlier, people were rushing to the markets to buy these Chinese goods because they are at a very cheaper price. But if the Indian government puts a tax, what will happen? So they will start selling their products at a higher price. That tax
Will
is
the
a trade barrier. That tax is an example of trade barrier, that is to control the trade. I hope that what I explained before this was clear to you. That is required to regulate the foreign trade. So what is the importance of trade barrier or this introduction of tax? This government policy is important because we need to regulate the foreign trade in our country. Okay, but these days, these days, because globalization is on rise, many governments are removing these barriers or restrictions, and they are following the policy of liberalization. Okay, now what are the advantages? Liberal means free. So
okay.
liberalization means freedom from all, not all, but not very stringent government policies. Government policies are undergoing a change so that foreign investment in the country continues to grow, and as a result, foreign trade will grow, and because of that, the country will also earn a lot of foreign revenue. Okay, yes. Can you read now? This benefits.
Okay. With liberalization of trade, businesses are allowed to make decisions freely about what they wish to import or export. The
Hmm.
government imposes much less restrictions than before and is therefore said to be more liberal.
Yes, it is said to be more free. Why? Because now these businesses or the MNCs are allowed to take their decisions about what they wish to import and export. So that is proving beneficial for them. So many country governments are trying to reduce their restrictions. So can you read the second question and tell me what can you answer for this? Tax on imports is one type of trade barrier, which we had seen just now. Okay, the government could also place a limit on number of goods that can be imported. This is known as quotas. So restrictions on the amount of goods in the market. Now, can you explain using the same example, okay, of the Chinese toys? Earlier, we had used the example of import tax. Now, can you use the example of quotas and tell me how that will produce a trade barrier? Can you think and tell me? Yes, just as the government places taxes, in same way, if the quota system means in the market, only this much percentage of goods can be Chinese, or this much percentage of goods can be some other country, and rest has to be locally made or Indian
Yes.
products. Yes, then that way regulating the trade. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Due to tax on imports, Chinese toys can be regulated. Chinese toys can be regulated, and percentage of Chinese toys will decrease in our country. This will lead
Correct.
to that the Indian the
Yes,
Indian
it
toys
will help
will
the
be
Indian toys manufacturer, right? So have you
yes,
understood? Have you
yes,
understood this?
and
Okay.
industrialization in India will increase.
All right, all right. So I'll stop for the day and we'll continue in the next period. Okay. So thank you. See you all next period. Bye.
If you like our videos, do share them and subscribe to our channel. If you want awesome quizzes, write to us. Keep watching and keep learning with Walnut.